Welcome back, isn't that gorgeous? Welcome back to Tubridy tonight. A beautiful shot there. That's a full shot of the full moon, which is live as we speak. We're just keeping an eye on it because there is a total lunar eclipse on the way, and we'll check back on it later on. Just can we broaden back that shot? Look at that. Isn't that beautiful, ladies and gentlemen? A round of applause for the moon. The moon. Woo-hoo. Oh, the moon. My next guest says he first knew he had psychic abilities when, as a child, he saw the ghost of his dead grandfather. But it was only after a brief stint as a professional football player with Liverpool did he decide to make a career out of it. His books and DVDs are a constant feature on the bestsellers lists, and his TV programme has made him the most popular psychic in Britain. Please welcome Derek Acorah, ladies and gentlemen.
If there's something strange in your neighborhood, who you gonna call? Ghostbusters! If there's something weird and it don't look good, who you gonna call? Ghostbusters!
How are you?
Ryan. I'm good, thanks, good.
You're extremely welcome to the programme. It's nice to see you.
It's great to be here.
I mentioned your first realisation that the psychic abilities were there on site, if you will, of your dead grandfather. Mm-hmm. Can you remind us of that story or what happened?
Yeah, I actually came home from school. Both my elder brother and elder sister lived in my grandmother's old Victorian house. Mum and Dad had decided not to go for a house, and we shared grandmother's house. And we'd just come home from school. And we were sent right to the top of the house to this like attic playroom before tea. Gran had called us down, and I got to the last landing. Being the youngest, I was the last one down. Yeah. Got to the last landing, and then suddenly to my right, there's a big man walking through the aperture of the door. Called my name, walked out. I froze, thinking there's a stranger in my Gran's house, not knowing anything about spirits, ghosts, or anything like that. And he told me a few things, gave me his name, and told me to go downstairs and tell my grandma. I told my grandma this. She then got hold of my hand, whipped me out into the hallway, up the stairs to have a look. There was no man there. When we come back downstairs, my gran had spoken to my mum, and who then went to the cupboard and brought this big tin box out I'd never seen before. Opened it, took the top off, and emptied the contents, Ryan, onto the table. And there were these photographs of different faces I'd never seen before. And she said, "Is the man's face in those photographs?" And I found two. And I handed them to her, innocently. And long story short, it was my grandfather who died, passed away. He was a seafarer, and he died on a ship. He was working in the engine room, and there was a big blowback from one of the coal furnace fires, and which caused terrible damage to his lower part of his body. And before they could get him ashore, because at that point in time, his ship was in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and he got septicemia and passed away. And it was my grandfather, Richard, who came to me, and that was 2.5 years, basically, before I was born, that he passed.
So, at that point, you reckoned there was something going on that was paranormal or beyond the regular, if you like. And you were going to be a regular kid in Liverpool. You had dreamed to play for Liverpool.
That's all I wanted to be.
I'd imagine. And you got close enough. I mean, you were 15, you were, knocking around in the periphery, weren't you?
I was. I mean, Liverpool Football Club were watching me as a 13-year-old schoolboy.
Yes.
And the scouts were there and what have you. When I got to 15, they'd asked my dad would I sign for them as an apprentice pro. And I jumped at it, because that's all I ever wanted to be, a footballer. Sure. Dad wasn't too happy, because he was an Evertonian. He went crazy. Yeah. He said, I'd like you to sign for Everton, but Everton didn't come along for me.
So you had a little civil war in your house, in a sporting sense. And then you were going past a spiritualist church at one point.
In Lancaster.
And your whole career path changed with that encounter. Can you briefly tell us that story?
Well, my wife and I, this is years later, my wife and I went into Blackpool and for the day, and we were ready to head off home, and the weather was really, it just changed completely. Darkened skies, everything, and the weather forecast was bad. So Gwen said, rather than drive, there'd been an accident on one of the major roads going back, just stop over in Lancaster, we'll have a bite to eat, and then we'll just take our time going home. We drove into Lancaster. Neither my wife nor I had ever been into Lancaster before. We drove in, down this narrow road and what have you, parked the car up to look for somewhere we could go in to eat, and through the mirror, my wife said, "Derek, look through the mirror." And I looked, and she said, it's a church, a spiritualist church, where mediums work and this, that, and the other. Why don't we go in? Now, that wasn't my prompting. It was Gwen's suggestion. We went in there rather than go for a meal. We sat down, and the place was full with people. A medium come onto the platform and said, I want to speak to a man called Derek. I didn't immediately put my hand up. In fact, my wife was doing this to me, and I said, no. I want to talk to Derek. The next thing, the medium said, I've got a man here, a Scottish gentleman. She said, and he's saying he's Derek's boss, because that's what we used to call Bill Shankly at Liverpool, boss.
Sure.
The lad that played for Liverpool football, I had to put my hand up then. And Shanks, there he was, my ex-manager, saying to me, son, don't worry about not making the grade in football. And this, he actually said this through a medium. You are going to make it in something that is truly meant for you. So go forward, son, he said, and put the ball in the spiritual net for the change. And that's what he said in his deliberation.
Now, it's the spirit guide. Does every psychic have a spirit guide?
Yes, every person has a spirit
Everyone
guide.
has a spirit guide. Your spirit guide is Sam.
Sam, yeah.
And people who watch your programs will be familiar with Sam. He's almost like an invisible sidekick, if I may call him that.
Yeah. He does most of the work.
Yeah. How did you meet? When did you meet him?
In this lifetime, he started making himself known to me in my teenage years. But I had an encounter of experience with him in a previous lifetime.
Which was when?
In over 2,000 years in Ethiopia. In my previous lifetime, which a lot of people can get to know about your previous lifetimes if you go to the right place to get to know how to do it in regression. But we go back a long time, Sam and I, and the promise was in the previous lifetime. He was similar to me. In those days, where he was in that part of the world, he was like an oracle, a seer. They didn't call them mediums in those days. And he did work to help people, and they used to feed him, because there was no money to get.
What does he do for you, Derek?
He watches, he's a go-between between the world of spirit, Ryan, and also
Is he here now?
He's always with me.
But I mean, is he here? Could you have a conversation with him now if you wanted to?
I could, yes.
Do you want to?
Well, what do you want me to say to
No,
him?
I'm just curious to if you wanted to, you could you? And just say,
Well,
how's it going, where are you?
Yeah, if I started talking to him now, probably, I'm not saying the lovely audience, but maybe some people would think I was schizophrenic.
Okay, well, we won't do that then. But he's your guide. He will, if you go into a house, he's saying, listen, Derek, here's the story. There's a spirit here. Is that it? He points a torch, metaphorically.
Well, he does help. I mean, some spirit people don't want to show themselves, Ryan.
Yes.
And some do. Just like in life, you get an extrovert person who'll come out and be larger than life, then you'll get another one who's very sensitive and stands back and wants to be, you know, a bit private.
So in the clip we're going to see now, okay, which I've seen, but you become embodied by who or what?
I channel a spirit.
A channel spirit, which means that you've decided to let yourself go or become available as a host, if you like, to a spirit. Is that it?
For a short space of time.
For a short
I
space.
open up and let that spirit person, that energy and consciousness of that spirit enter my auric field. We all have an auric field around our physical bodies. And just for you allow, it doesn't come in without being invited.
Okay, let's have a look at you. Are you possessed? Is that the... No, I want to be careful of the words, because I don't want to be facetious or...
No. You channel a spirit.
Okay, this is you channeling the spirit.
Yes.
Okay, this is Derek in action, ladies and gentlemen.
Asking you now, please try and do something, move something, make a noise, make something bang, anything at all. Do it now, please. Do something. Obviously a complete coward.
Confrontation! Do it! Confrontation! Confrontation! Yes! That's what you want!